I'm Laura Bonnell, and this is the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast coming to you from Detroit. Please subscribe and even rate and comment on our podcasts when it moves you. I learn something new with every podcast, and I'm always inspired by the people that are showcased here. We don't give medical advice. You need to connect with your doctor for that. I hope that this Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast educates you and sparks some volunteering or advocacy. The CF community needs people like you. Thanks to our sponsors, Viatris and Vertex, for their support. I'm so glad you're going to meet Kate O'Donnell, or maybe if you've already met her, you'll learn more about her in this podcast. She's a business leader, an investor, and longtime advocate in the cystic fibrosis community. She works with Belmont Capital, LLC, and has volunteered with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and actually her whole family has. Kate's been doing it for 20 plus years, and her whole family a little bit longer. Currently, she is co-chair of the Milestone campaign that her dad started at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. She's also president of the Joey Fund, and she will tell us more about that. But it was founded in memory of her brother Joey, who died at the age of 12 from complications of cystic fibrosis. The organization provides critical support to families affected by cystic fibrosis in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And Kate, thank you so much for joining us. We've met in person, we've talked online, we've emailed, and it's so great to finally get you here on this podcast. So anybody that doesn't know who you are will be so excited to learn about everything you're doing.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Laura. We've been talking for such a long time, and we have so many friends in common, and it's just a natural fit. I'm really thrilled to be on here with you and talk about what you're doing and what I'm doing and what we are doing.
Yeah, it is exciting. And I have to say, I love looking at your social media. It's like all of us, I guess it's grown and changed, but it is really fun seeing everything that you're doing. I just love it.
Thank you.
How has, if you want to talk a little bit about the Joey Fund as we get started, we mentioned some of it in the introduction, but, tell us about your brother, who Joey was, and you were born after him, but kind of give us a little bit of Joey history and then tell us about the foundation.
Yeah, of course. So my brother Joey had cystic fibrosis. He was born before I was. He was in 71, I believe he was born. And he passed away when he was 12. He lived a lot longer than they thought that he would live. But he passed away in 1986. And I was born 3 months later. So I never knew him. That being said, my parents kept his memory very, very alive in our house, which I'm eternally grateful for. It created an environment where my sister and I weren't afraid to ask about death, and it wasn't scary to us. And, we celebrated his birthday and observed the day he died. And I think it was probably really difficult for my parents to do that, but also maybe cathartic as well. But Joey was, from what I have heard from my cousins and my parents and everybody who knew him, he was just an amazing, amazing kid. He was an athlete, an artist, president of the class, total class clown. And a lot of his friends didn't even know he was sick. They knew he was a little guy and he had a cough, but he didn't really let it define him. And it wasn't that he didn't want his friends to know or he hid it. It was just, it was what it was. And, my parents made it so that his friends would want to come to the house. So they really tricked out the house with, a video game basement, and made it really obvious that we're going home to Joey's because he has to do chest PT. And his friends got really exposed to that in the beginning. So they didn't think it was weird, and they all just go and play video games after, which was a very interesting way to really expose a whole generation to what was going on.
That is. And to be born in 71, my oldest was born in 94. And I remember them saying, oh, you're so lucky you have enzymes in the capsules.
Right.
And I thought, oh my gosh, we are so lucky. But so I don't know if Joey's enzymes were even encapsulated yet at that
I
time.
don't think so. I know my mom told me all about like the applesauce and I don't think they were. And there wasn't much to do other than just ET.
Right. You didn't have a lot of meds then.
He wasn't inhaling a ton of things. He didn't have a ton of nebula. It was like the mist tents and everything, but
Mhm.
um it was kind of the dark ages of CF. And then, they came out with the gene right before yours was born.
Right.
And everybody was like, we did it. We have a cure. And obviously that's not the case. But um,
Right.
it was kind of the dark ages of CF at that time.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And we often say we are so lucky to be in the CF community, and things have moved not fast enough for everyone, but pretty fast. I mean, certainly we don't have a cure, and 10% or more of the community doesn't have a CF modulator, but we still have come so far.
It's wild. And I think one of the craziest I think it's kind of like a blessing and a curse when you're thinking about it. You and I, who know so much about what's going on behind the scenes and what it physically takes to get to this point, and the billions of dollars that it costs to develop these things. I think people who were born today, you don't realize what was going on back then and how far we have come. And, of course, I get incredibly frustrated too at the fact that we don't have it for everybody yet. But that's why we keep going,
Exactly. And I want to talk more about that too, but I'm going back to your brother. So
Mm-hmm.
you and your parents, and I think one thing is that I always say, and I feel like that my foundation is my therapy. My girls are doing great and all of that, but it still is a nice way to, and nice, I mean, like we're all doing so much. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of action behind it, but it does make me feel better. And then I get
Yes.
to talk to you and I get to be in the CF community like 1,000,000%. And it fills my heart because I feel like if I didn't have all of you, I don't know, it would just be a different, harder time. And I just wonder how you feel and um, how your sisters feel or
Mm-hmm.
sister feels,
Yeah.
being in the CF community so much.
Yeah. It's a good question, and different people handle it very differently. Um, I I personally love being in this community. I can't imagine not being in it. I have my personality. I'm a total extrovert. I like just like digging in and making new friends and walking into rooms where I don't know anyone. And
Wow.
um, working within this community was kind of something that I really had with my dad. And he was the one who really, really obviously, as threw himself entirely into this to find a cure. And my mom didn't want to do that. She works behind the scenes for CF, but it's too painful for her to be in these rooms and meeting families. And it's just not something that she can mentally deal with. So, she loves hearing stories about when I come back and, oh, who did you meet and what did you do? And she loves this. But she's not interested in doing it herself. It's too much. And my sister's kind of similar, is very, very supportive and helps me with like all the stuff on the back end. But she doesn't want to be the one speaking. She doesn't want to be the one putting stuff together and being in the front. So, which is nice. We have very complementary roles in it. And growing up going with my dad, it became like a thing that we did together. He started bringing me to VLC and NACFC together, and getting to see him in this community and watch him interact in this unbelievable group in a way that I had never seen him do. My dad was a crazy, impactful, and outgoing and dynamic guy, but people constantly would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, thank you for sharing him with us, letting us see him." And I'd say to them, "No, thank you for letting me see this side of him." It was such a gift to experience it with him.
So, Kate, tell us about your dad. Such a huge impact at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Tell us about him and, how he started that program and the impact that it's had.
Yeah, I think so. When he first came in, when they had Joey and when Joey was young, as you know, the foundation itself was very fractured, and it was very, each chapter ran separately, and no one was fundraising for a common goal. And because you couldn't, it was just, there was so much desperation. You had to just deal with what was in front of you.
And just to interrupt, for anyone that doesn't know, it was started by parents.
Yes.
So, Bijal did a great job in Breath for Salt of explaining it. Yes, I have my copy, but I can't pick it up because it's on the shelf. But yes, such a great book. But anyways, continue. Yeah.
Yeah, Bijal told the story just so beautifully. And she basically lived with my family for 7 years on and off to interview us, which was such a gift.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad basically came in with this entrepreneurial mind, and he had gone to business school and he was running businesses at the time. And he basically said, why don't we adopt something that's kind of like venture capital and take all this money and put it up into finding a cure, which we now call venture philanthropy. And, you look back on it and you're like, oh, what a no-brainer. That makes total sense. But imagine if it didn't work and we just blew through. It wasn't millions. It was 250,000 at the time, I believe. And that's basically, how we've come up with this model. But he basically just went out and kicked down doors and said, my kid is sick and I couldn't save him, but I can save your kid. And I can't do it alone. And none of us can do it alone. We all have to do it together. And he taught a lot of people how to tell their story personally and the power of stories and how to make events really exciting and not just, yapping at people with a rubber chicken dinner. He was very, very adamant that our events never have rubber chicken dinners. Speaking program has to be 20 minutes at the absolute most. So yeah, he was just phenomenal at speaking people and knowing what people wanted and how to take that and turn it into a fundraising movement.
And I think also he's a huge reminder of what one person can do.
Yes.
Not that I'm leaving your mom out, because she was also, as you said, behind the scenes. So let's say 2 people, but 2 individuals, your parents, everyone should learn from their efforts. It makes a difference. He has made an enormous difference. CFF wouldn't be what it is today.
No. And I think, you look at him and it's much more on the national scale. You look at what my mom was doing on the more local scale and bringing Joey's friends together to raise up. We built a playground called Joey's Park that still exists to this day. And we rebuilt it 10 years ago, and all of Joey's friends came back with their kids. And, that was really my mom's bread and butter, was the local community that she raised. And when other people were sick, I'm sure when you have a sick kid, other parents are scared of you. And my mom has horror stories about how, other moms didn't want to be friends with her because they didn't want their kids to be heartbroken when their friend died. And so she was just isolated and didn't have the support that I think a lot of people do today, because there's a bit more understanding. And she was kind of the neighborhood mom who, if anything happened to anyone, she was the support system. I just remember that growing up, going to everyone's houses with baskets and movies, and, she just knew what to do.
Wow, that is amazing. And the community was so different then too, because I think she didn't have the internet in the way that we do. she wasn't able to communicate and see if people weren't getting together.
No. She had some friends Joey would go to the hospital and they had the CF floor, which was, they loved that. He would get, he had to be in the hospital, which sucked, but, he'd come in and be like, who's here? And, they'd be riding around and sneaking down to the morgue because they were 10-year-old little boys,
Oh my gosh.
And so she did become friends with some of the moms in there, but they weren't all from, the same town. People were just coming in and not always the same place. So it was hard.
As carriers, what do you and your sister, I imagine that you did or you will do genetic testing.
Yep.
How does that impact the family? And as we're learning more and more that carriers are impacted by colon cancer and other things as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. So Vigil wrote about my sister has 2 kids, and she had her husband tested very early on, and her husband is not a carrier, so she didn't have to worry about anything. I froze my eggs right before I met my husband, and I didn't get too many of them, so I was like, oh, it's fine, whatever. I'll deal with it later. And then I met Ryan, and about 6 months in, I was like, listen, I need you to go get tested. We weren't engaged, but I was like, if we're going to get married, I need like 20 more eggs to do this.
Yeah.
And he's not a carrier either, which is great. That was just a little weight off my shoulder. But yeah, carrier status, I think, is such a weird thing where like a lot of people will come up to me because, I don't hide that I'm a carrier. There's no shame in this. It's like 1 in every 20 European white people is a carrier. So I don't mind talking about it at all. I think it's fascinating. And I was, I raised in this sense where it's, we learned the Punnett squares and we were taught exactly how this works. And when I did all this genetic testing, I also carry like 5 other recessive things. And, the genetic counselor called me because I guess you get like red flagged.
Oh.
And she was like, are you okay? Can we talk about this? And I was like, no, this is so cool. Tell me what else. But, my mom has bronchiectasis, which is definitely, CFTR related. My grandmother had it. I see a pulmonologist. I have really bad stomach issues, which I'm getting tested right now to see if it's related. Stuff like chest colds getting really just lingering forever. I think I'm on week 4 of this one, but
wow.
I'm fine. I don't have CF. Like it's whatever. But I am very fascinated in the research that's going into it. And, I just met a mom who started taking enzymes because she had digestion issues. And there's colon cancer. Colon cancer runs in my family. I haven't really talked a lot about this at all. So this is just my own thinking. But my dad died of pancreatic cancer. And I don't know how much of that is obviously CF affects your pancreas. And he was a carrier. So I don't know how much of that potentially impacted or whether it's related or not. I don't know.
Right.
So it's something that I'm fascinated about. There hasn't been too much research yet because, of course, carriers are not the priority. There's nothing wrong with us, but I am interested to see, what comes out in the future about all of this.
It is so interesting and worrisome, but even, people who have CF, I think we're learning more about colon cancer with a transplant, or even if you have not had a transplant. It seems to me everybody should get tested by 30,
Yes.
to be safe.
Yes.
I know there's nothing officially saying that yet, but I mean, it seems like a preventative thing.
Absolutely. I just had my second scan. I'm 39. I just had my second one just because my family history is quite riddled with it. And I'll tell you, it's not a bad process. You take a nice nap.
Right.
They give you some crackers.
Yeah. And now as carriers, we do it every 5 years, and my husband's family has a history of colon cancer as well. So, So yeah, it's really good to do. Tell us, about the Joey Fund and how it works with CFF.
Yeah. So the Joey Fund itself is its own organization, like you are. The way that I think about it is we've got the CFF as a large umbrella of support, and then we have all the smaller foundations underneath it or alongside of it, I guess. And the Joey Fund obviously was named after my brother. My parents started it. They were fundraising before he died, but they didn't officially name it the Joey Fund until afterwards. And what we do is we raise money. The majority of our funding goes directly up to the CFF for research to find a cure, is earmarked for that. And then a sliding scale, depending on the year and depending on requests, we provide assistance to CF families within Massachusetts, Rhode Island. And that can be food insecurity, dental bill, washing machine, your fridge breaks and you need your meds in it. Right now, I'm starting to implement scholarships as well, primarily for Mass families, and then we'll try and branch out to more national. But that's primarily what we do. We do work alongside the CF Foundation for support logistically. The Mass Rhode Island team is phenomenal, and they absolutely crush it. I feel like, they're my teammates in every sense of the word. But the Joey Fund itself is, we don't have any overhead. I don't get paid for it. It's just me. I'm thinking about bringing on an intern soon because we are starting to sell more hats and there is a lot more admin than there used to be. I think it was more of kind of like a holding shell previously, but I'm trying to do a lot more with it now. And as you know, you can't do that alone.
It's so much work. Oh my gosh, it's so much work. And in regard to the hats, is that just this year or has it been for a while? Okay. Tell me about those, please.
So the hats, I can send you a picture later. The hats have been around forever. My dad loved a hat. And so he created the Joey hat with our logo, and they are donated by 47 brand, which is an amazing company, a local company. And the owners actually just sold the company about 3 years ago. And the new owners are continuing on that tradition and donating these hats to us. I think I have to start paying for something in the future because the request for the hats is like really going through the roof now that I'm doing all the social media on it. But every year we come out with a new color. It used to be just the same exact cotton hat. We've recently started branching out into more like this one's a bit more like structured kind of hat. This is the first one we did with that. With the rope, I have 3 different kinds this year. One without this logo, it's just written across, which people are really liking. They come in kid sizes, but people get really, really jazzed up about the hats and they wear them all the time. I just ran my data the other day and I never asked people to do this. It became very organic over the years. And I was like, I wonder where it's all been. People wear their Joey hats all over the world, and then they send me pictures. It's kind of like a flat Stanley thing. I have pictures from 33 states, 6 continents, and 60, I think we're at 62 countries now.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's wild.
We have the link in show notes if somebody wants them, so they can get them. Wow. Well, I just wonder if, like us, have you noticed that the need for financial assistance has really skyrocketed this year, especially?
Yes. And I just had a call with our mass care centers, and because, the way that it used to be done when my dad was running the foundation, people would email in and we provide immediate use grants to people in Mass Rhode Island. I would love to be able to provide it to everyone around the country, but there are Joey funds in many states. And so this is where we're focusing right now. But up until then, people would just kind of email us. And part of the model that we really like is that I can say, yes, send it to you immediately rather than applying and waiting for that term to come. But as a result, it was kind of chaotic. People would email and be like, hey, I heard you offer help. How can you help me? And I'd be like, I don't know. Does it fall within the bylaws? But there weren't bylaws. So I really had to create those. We don't cover education right now. I won't cover a full-on medical bill because those two are so I can't quantify them. I can't help with finding people housing because I don't know how to do that yet. But we are going into scholarships this year. We are going into supporting the care centers and asking them exactly what we need. And what they came back with was the biggest thing was food insecurity and parking. And, it's such a kick in the teeth when you have to go to the hospital for a week and a half and you come out and you're hit with a $400 parking ticket.
It's crazy, honestly. I think worldwide you should not be charged for parking if you're a patient or a caregiver for that patient.
No. And it varies from where you are. In Boston, it's an $800 parking ticket. But if you go out to Worcester, where I have another care center, it only costs them I think it's $3 a day. So that care center doesn't need it, but they need gift cards to go to Market Basket. So we're trying to figure out which care center needs what and how best to deploy those funds.
Yes. We used to have a brochure that said what parking fees were in each hospital of our 7 care centers in Michigan, and then we included Ohio as well. And we need to update that and do it again because it's just crazy.
Crazy.
And I do think it impacts sometimes where people go to which clinic, depending on what is available. So
yeah. And whether they even go half of the time, I have people at care centers calling me being like, they don't have a car or their car broke down, and they can't go. Can you pay for an Uber to come pick them up so they can get treatment? And I'm like, yes, go. But yeah, it's constantly evolving, and I am finding that the needs for people are, housing. I just sent a guy an air purifier because he's dealing with housing insecurity, and the only place where he can live has mold in it, and which is atrocious,
Right.
And I don't know how to find him new housing. That's not something that I'm equipped to deal with. But, they were like, this $200 air purifier is apparently very, very helpful. And so that's what we did this week.
Yeah. And we've had the same situation. And I feel the same way whenever somebody wants to start a new foundation, I had someone ask me and I said, rent, mortgages, utilities, that most of the CF foundations I know don't do that. So if somebody has that niche, that is a great place to be because
totally
we're mostly sticking with financial assistance, organ transplant assistance, and college scholarships as well. So it's it's challenging.
It is.
Do you do advocacy as well? And it doesn't have to be advocacy for bills and that those kinds of things, but are you doing advocacy of any kind as far as maybe helping people advocate for themselves in hospitals or legislatively or anything like that?
I personally don't. I do connect them with people who can help them do that. We have really, really amazing care centers in Boston, and and they are on it. So, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here, but I do redirect them to social workers who are within Boston, and they are fantastic at providing how-tos.
Yeah.
And helping people figure out how to advocate for themselves.
It's wonderful. And in addition to the hats, what is bringing you some of the biggest joy that you have doing what you're doing? Joey Joy, that comes to mind. That's a cute, Joey Joy.
Yeah, Joey Joy. I love that. I think, I'm really, really enjoying doing social media right now.
Your videos. Yes, they're so fun. That's what I was saying. Like, oh my gosh, they're so fun and engaging.
I love doing it. I grew up in, I'm 39 years old. I was a senior in high school when Facebook came out. I was like the year that like we grew up with Facebook. And then like the pictures and stuff and all this sharing didn't happen until I was out of college. Bless up. I think. But I worked for Snapchat. I've been running all the socials for the Joey Fund for a very long time and the website. And, I just got really sick of watching people making a ton of money for like, literally, I did this on Summers, but being like, welcome to my channel. And like, you're getting paid like tens of thousands of dollars to like shell out like, microphones and whatever. And I was like, I can do that. I could do that and I can make money for CF and make it interesting because, I can ask people to donate until I go blue in the face. But unless they can relate to it and they can understand it on a level that's higher than they can get with like a brochure or a website or, my basic events, they're not going to do that. So how do I broach that line as it's getting harder to fundraise for cystic fibrosis? I mean,
it is. Oh my gosh. A lot of stress this year.
Oh my God. Like everybody, no one wants to give money anymore. Everyone thinks it's cured, first of all, which drives me mental.
Right.
And maybe that's because I'm in Boston and, we're just people hear that a lot.
No, I think people think that the CF modulators are the cure, and they're not. And people who are on them are still sadly dying and still having health issues. So,
I mean, are they amazing? Yes, they're buying so much time, but they're not a cure.
And then Make-A-Wish took CF off, which is... I get that it was a beautiful tribute to longer lives for people with CF, but it makes it think everyone else think, oh, they must have a cure. They're done. Right. We don't have to worry about them. So yes, I hear you.
I always have to caveat it with like, oh no, you can still apply. It's a one-off, situation. They haven't banned cystic fibrosis from Make-A-Wish, but I think it's really, really difficult when you look at how much money. The biggest things that I hear are, well, aren't you guys done? The CF Foundation has billions of dollars in the endowment. And like, why would you need any more money? And then you have to kind of like roll it back and be like, let me explain to you how much each modulator costs and how much investing in finding. We're not going after modulators right now. We're going after gene editing. That costs billions of dollars.
Right.
You can't test these 10% that are still going on right now who don't have a modulator. It's a handful of people with these mutations. You physically can't put them into a scientific test and find a pill for them. That can't happen. It has to go in some other way. And that science and technology has not been invented yet. So we're like on the way, but it's going to cost billions of dollars. And the goal is not to have a modulator for everyone. The goal is to have a cure for every single person. So I do get frustrated. I hear it from people who I'm just like, how do you not understand this? That it's not cured and that modulators are not a cure. And I think another thing that is really interesting too is, when you first had your girls and when my parents had Joey, the level of desperation was so, so, so high. And it was a terrifying, terrifying time. And it's still terrifying for parents now. But the percentage of parents, then it was 100% of parents were terrified. Now, with the modulators and being able to put your little 6-month-old baby on Trikafta, that brings up a little bit of the relief in some of these
Right.
cases
Or
of people
taking
who
it
will
in
not have
vitro.
it.
Like the mom can now take
Exactly.
it once the child's diagnosed in vitro. It's
Yep.
crazy wonderful, but it's making a huge difference.
Huge difference. So that desperation is not there at the same percent that it used to be, which is incredible. That's what we fought for, was to get that luxury of not having to panic constantly. But with that comes a lowering of, this need to continue fundraising and bringing more people into the community. Because if you don't have to, why would you do it?
Right.
You know?
And the other thing I wanted to bring up was something you said a little bit earlier is the cost of the modulators are high. Yes, but we have a very small population. So
Yeah.
the CF community is always so grateful that these pharmaceutical companies have invested in such a small disease. So not only does the research take funding, but then we have like your foundation, my foundation, all of these foundations that are trying to help communities with
Exactly.
daily lives, cost of living, all the things that are so expensive. So
Right?
there's a need for all that. And that was a really good point you brought up because I don't think we talk about it enough. There is a need for both. We
Yes.
need all that money in research and we need all the smaller foundations to
Yep.
be able to help their communities.
Yes. They work together. They have to. And that's why it's so beautiful to have all these different, a lot of our funding goes towards the CF Foundation. That's what we've decided to do. And that's where I'm happy that a lot of our funding goes. But then you've got other organizations like Emily's Entourage, like Boomer Esiason, like you guys, who are supporting IVF and lung transplant. And they have to all exist together. It's so important. I know sometimes people are like, oh my God, are you guys all beefing? And it's like, no one's beefing. It's like this beautiful,
It is.
like, organization where we're all besties. And it's great because when someone comes to me and they're like, I really need help with IVF, I'm like, let me send you over to Boomer. Like, you guys are going to love the team over there. And with lung transplant, I love that I can send them over to you guys. And, rare disease, I can send them over to Emily's Entourage. And if they want to know more about research, I could send them on up to the CFF. It's having no one person can do it all. So
Right.
I think it's just like a great little ecosystem that we have going right now.
And it's rare. I have found in talking to other foundations, different diseases, that there is some discourse. So I'm really glad we don't have it because
I
it's
am
so
too.
much easier and so much more beneficial for everyone.
Yeah.
What are your hopes for the future of the CF community and or the Joey Fund? But what's your dream for the future of CF?
My dream for the future is that there is no more CS, obviously, but finding a cure sooner than we hope we will is absolutely. I just like sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if remember when Trikafta came out and it was all over the news and like remember that feeling where it was just like,
do I ever?
my
Yes.
God. Like everyone cried all day. It was such a joyful, amazing, groundbreaking moment. And I look at that, or even when like Kaleido came out, the very first one, and that was only for what, like 10% of people, but it was still like, oh my God, this can actually happen. I imagine the day that we get a breakthrough with gene editing and find a delivery method that makes it happen. And I just like, it overwhelms me thinking about that because that's what we're looking for. And I think another thing that I push when people are and I had posted about this on social a few days ago, but people are like, well, why should I fundraise for cystic fibrosis? And I like to remind them that CF research is at the forefront of science, and we are busting through all these different discoveries, and science does not exist in a bubble. So whatever we're able to do can then be applied to every other genetic disease around.
Like sickle cell. I mean,
Yes,
sickle
it's
cell,
crazy.
all our research in CF totally benefited sickle cell. It's
Yes,
amazing.
yes. ALS, cancers, different cancers. Once you crack the code on delivery methods for the modulators, for gene editing, that can be applied to any kind of disease. It's like a science fiction movie, but it's
Right?
real.
Yes.
And the boundaries had been established, and we're not starting from scratch here. So we know that the money is being used in a very, very responsible way. And I get really, really excited about what can happen, not just for CF, but for the entire world.
It's so exciting, and I'm so glad that your whole family has been and continues to be involved in the CF community. Anything that you wanted to mention before we wrap up the podcast?
I guess, I do sell these Joey hats. We do want to get them all the way around the world to 100%. So if anyone's going, I have a friend, I don't know if you know Noor, but Noor is going to Syria, and we don't have the hat in Syria yet. So Noor's bringing her hat to Syria, and she's going to ride an Arabian horse and put a hat on the horse as well.
Oh my gosh.
And Maureen brought it to Antarctica. So we've got those two covered. But, if people are going anywhere crazy, I will send you a hat.
Well, we will have been back from Lisbon by then for our CF conference, but I will put on a hat then. We'll do that. And I'm also bringing Summer Love's,
Yes.
her little heart-shaped, keep it, pass it, hold it close coin. So lots of things to leave behind in very cool places. So
exactly. I think there are just so many of us. I think the one thing I would just want to mention is just this community is so unbelievable. And people always ask me, why do you stay involved? Is it painful? Is it, there's a lot going on, and there is a lot of grief tied into this, both, in my family and everybody's family. And this isn't like a rainbows and lollipops kind of situation all the time.
right.
And working with this community and getting to know the people here is so, I don't want to use the word inspiring because people hate being like, oh, I'm so inspired by you. But it's such a kick-ass, unbelievable, awesome community who's just doing the absolute most unbelievable work. People are athletes breaking records and, producing things that normal people cannot even fathom doing. And I just think it's such a wonderful, wonderful community. And it's an excellent case study on how a community can come together and change the trajectory of a disease in such a relatively quick time. It's unprecedented and just so heartwarming, and I love it. Could never leave this group.
Yeah, I know. And I agree too. And the positivity and the hope, I mean, you have to have it. And there has to be, for me, there has to be humor in everything. I mean, there has been humor in some of the saddest times, something that's funny or whatever it is. But that's what gets you through it, the hard times.
Right.
So
a lot of dark humor in this community, which I really appreciate.
Very, very needed. Well, Thank you so much, Kate. I'm glad we got to know more about you. It's been wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Laura. This has been so great, and I'm so excited to hang out in Lisbon.
I know, me too.
The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen.
It's not complicated.
Who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrated, but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org. This podcast was sponsored by Vertex Pharmaceutical, the science of possibility, and Viatris. It was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.